welcome friends to the Annestasis podcast, where we talk about life transformations through a physical relocation. And today I have two very special guests for you. We're going to be talking to Mr. Glen Sessoms, who is a retired FedEx executive and a gentleman who has been married for 44 years and who is in the process of downsizing. He has gifted some of his precious items, his books, to Mr. Larry Robinson, who is the founder and CEO of Kudzukian. These gentlemen have been friends for years, and what we want to look at is the process of the gifting, and also what does it mean for someone to take a piece of their life, their possessions, things they've collected, and what it means to give it to someone else, and what that looks like in the process of downsizing. I'm so excited about our guest today, and we look forward to unpacking this story with you on the Annestasis podcast. We are so excited as we are uncovering the beauty of the gift and the giver. So, Glen, talk to me about, if you don't mind, just tell me a little bit about where you gifted something to Mr. Robinson, to Mr. Larry. What was that like?
Well, Larry and I have been friends, and I guess he says I'm his mentor. In transitioning from my big house to a smaller house, it was important that I give some things away as opposed to giving them the goodwill.
Right.
And Larry's a big business guy. He's still growing in his business and development. And so I had a number of leadership kind of books and other books that I would not be able to take to the new space. So my goal was to give them to someone who would appreciate them. I asked Larry if he had need for some books. He said, of course. He loves books. So this is my second batch of books I've sent to him. And I told him he got to get a library for his office so he can present them properly.
I love that. I love that. So Larry, you are the recipient of this goodness and this collection. Tell me what that felt like to you as you were receiving this.
Well, in order for me to really put in context what, receiving the books from Glen means to me, let me talk about who Glen is. So he alluded to the fact that I consider him a mentor, but I can go back into, early in our relationship, when he was still an executive at, FedEx. He was, it just goes back, I was going back and forth between New York, and I was going back and forth between New York and Memphis. And literally, Glen, it was one of those first times when someone recognizes you and gives you a pearl of wisdom. Mm-hmm. And so back then he said to me, listen, if you can't eat it, don't buy it. And this has got to be around 2006, 2007.
Wow.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, well, I work at FedEx, so we can tell based on traffic and mail and, how the overnight packaging and so on and so forth. So I'm looking at this old dude, at the time, I'm sitting there like, man, what are you talking about? And he said, listen, if you don't listen to nothing else I tell you, if you can't eat it, don't buy it. And so I'm sitting back and I'm saying, okay. And just to let you know how prophetic it was, we went through one of our worst economic downturns into 2008. And because of that, I was very frugal in what I purchased. Even with that, we went through as a family a real difficult economic time. Mm-hmm. So when you think about Glen being that, here we are in 2023, 24, and, he's been there since that moment as a voice of wise counsel. And then from that, he was like, man, come out to my office and let's talk. And even at that meeting, he gave me 3 books. I remember one of them was The On Purpose Person. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that was like, wow. So I read that book and I was like, man, this is really cool that he would give me this book. So, he gave me this book years ago. And so our relationship has been based on the exchange of information, so to speak. And so So to give you that background, for him to start to give me parts of his collection of books, because when you went to his office, you saw his library, and it's a very extensive library of books. And I was like, wow, I was like, okay, so there's something to this thing about leaders read,
Mm-hmm.
And he's a leader, and he's a leader in our church, leader in his fraternity, even though he plays the wrong one. but he's a consummate leader, and for him to give me the recipe, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
to leadership by reading, it means a lot to me. So let's fast forward to these books that he gave me. So when he called and he said, hey man, I'm gonna be downsizing, and would you be interested in receiving some of my books? And I'm like, my mind immediately went back to the time when he gave me books in his office. And I'm saying, wow, Glen has a lot of books. He has some amazing books. Because actually I was looking at the books on the shelf back then and was like, man, I wish I had that book, or I'm going to buy this book, I'm going to buy that book. And many of them I went ahead and purchased. So these books, to have a part of that collection was really an important moment. So it was sort of like my mentor giving me the keys to the kingdom, in a sense, because this was his background. This was his, the basis of a lot of his knowledge as a leader. So to pass some of those scrolls,
right,
those scrolls on to the young Padawan, the young, the young grasshopper, I felt, man, it was a very special moment.
Absolutely. What I'm hearing as you describe that is very much like a kingdom. And what I am hearing is we're talking about books. I mean, paper, hardback books, they can be as ubiquitous as anything in our house. They can fall under the category of junk. But these weren't that. This was almost as if handing the kingdom from one executive who has had a lifetime of success at FedEx to a gentleman who is forming and founding and the CEO of a production company. It's almost as if it is a baton being handed in the relay of life.
Yeah, I don't need those books anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And they have no value to me. At this point in time, my value, my goal is to transition properly in this fourth quarter of my life. And so to have the books go to someone who will use them and need them and treasure them was very important. And I don't even remember when he came to my office and I gave him those 3 books. But,
did you get them back? I mean, that's they were gifted.
Yeah, they were gifts.
No, I usually buy books in the 5 and 10 numbers so I can give them to people, because people come to your office, they want advice, they want counsel, they want just, how do I advance my career and that kind of thing. And so you got to start with, who do you want to be, which is the on-purpose person. What's your purpose? What's your guiding principles? Where do you want to go in life? And then you go into, and then how are you going to be that as you live in your business?
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to impact people around you? Those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so the books that I have on leadership, he wanted some leadership books, and he asked some any books that autobiographies, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That you can read about people's lives and how they transition and move through from where they were to success. And the point that I give them to someone who would eventually get to them. I know you don't read them all right away, but at some point in time, that book will hit him, and he have to pick it up and get some nuggets.
Absolutely. And this, again, as we talked about in the beginning, is a process of you downsizing. There were certain things you could take, certain things that you didn't need anymore. And what I'm hearing here is that you are giving these to someone that would not only appreciate them, but probably someone who would also be a center of influence for other young people. It is truly passing that knowledge down. Am I correct in that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, part of our discussions are about life and And he's a younger man, so I can talk to him about things like, the life transitions of making a decision to downsize. When we had a large house, 4,800 square feet, just 5 bedrooms, and me and the wife. So we were walking by each other and walking by all the stuff in the house.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And we weren't sitting on it. And, the kids are gone now, so it's not being used. So you got to make a decision about what you do with all you've accumulated over 30 years in a place.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff is stuff. A lot of it's value.
Mm-hmm.
But, things in the house are memorable and have memories, but I got pictures.
Mm.
But I want to make life different in a new space for my wife and I, because it's just the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no need to have that much space at this time.
Sure, absolutely. And we definitely, I definitely want to hear more about that. But I want to back up again to this giving of things that are important to you. I am certain that there was probably artwork. There was probably, I'm assuming there were collectibles, things that you, travels, memories from you and your family, things like that. And that's why it was so interesting to me when Larry just briefly touched on, and when we were having a conversation about the power of books. And throughout your career, it sounds like as you mentored people and advised people and people came to you for counsel, these books were actually the tools of your success. And I can really see why you would not want them just to go to anyone, anywhere. I think it is so interesting that there is an attachment to the success that you had as a businessman, to the books that you've read, the knowledge that's in your head. Would you say that was a part of it as well?
Well, part of my responsibility as an executive is to develop people to work with you. And you cannot tell them everything they need to hear and know. But a book that has good information in it is powerful. And giving it to my senior managers, say, and allow them to read them, and then asking them for feedback on those books to make sure they read them, is important to make sure we have discussions about things beyond the numbers of work.
Mm-hmm.
Because work is a lot of times about conversations about how your business is doing, what your numbers look like, is the service level okay at FedEx, those kind of things. But personal development is what you need to do for people who sometimes don't know they need it. They think they're wonderful the way they are, but there's some flaws in all of us. But a book helps you to go, well, the road less traveled. What can I get out of that? Okay. Or other books that give you insights into things that help people go, maybe I need a little bit more of my family. I'm spending too much time at work, or I'm not balancing properly. Those books help have those conversations.
Absolutely. So there's the value in that. So as you and your wife are making these decisions to downsize, and you've got a variety of things, this is the direction that you went in with just one piece of that puzzle. What was it difficult in making your choices about what to take and what not to take? Was that challenging for you?
It was, and it is still challenging. We still have things we have to transition. Everything made the trip that we couldn't get rid of before we left.
I got you.
But there's still things in the house that we have to figure out what to do with, like artwork and things like that, things that won't fit in a new space. And we'll figure out who we're going to get those at some point in time. We're going to store them for a minute, maybe hold on to them for a while until we decide what needs to go, what needs to stay. But I think the hard part was, my son came out and helped. He's not attached to any of it. So, he went to the attics and started saying, Mom, why we have this? And Dad, why do you have that? And, all the other things. And so he went and got a pickup truck from U-Haul or somewhere, and made Christmas decorations go away, made, too many suitcases go away, made too many of these things that were sitting there, taking up dust, and deposited those in a place that somebody can get them, like Goodwill. So we got a lot of goodwill. We blessed a lot of folks with some nice stuff at Goodwill too.
Absolutely. Well, and that is part of the process. You're so blessed to have family that would help you in that space. It is not easy, I would assume, for you guys to make those choices, and a lot of work. And so what a wonderful thing that you had your son to help you. A lot of what we do professionally is we step in and we become the daughters, the sons, the nieces, the nephews, helping make those loving decisions and saying things like, I wonder if we need this many Christmas decorations.
Or do we need these many pie pans? Or do we need this many rotisserie things or casserole things, whatever?
Absolutely, absolutely.
You accumulate it over 30 years, and it just stacks up.
It does over a lifetime. Well, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I'd love to know what it's like now. What it feels like now, a little bit lighter with a little bit less of the things that you had before. You're listening to the Annestasis podcast, where we are talking about life resurrected on the other side of life transitions and relocations. And we'll be back in a minute.
Riffin' on Jazz.
Dizzy Gillespie. Can you imagine one of your first gigs being with Dizzy?
With a star.
Riffin' on Jazz on the Kudzukian Network.
Kudzukian!
Welcome back to the Annestasis podcast, where we are talking to Larry Robinson and Glen Sessoms about a downsizing, gifting of good things. And I want to talk to you about you and your wife of 44 years, Linda, you guys made a decision to downsize before it was too late.
Mm-hmm.
My experience is that is uncommon. Can you tell me why or what brought you to that place?
Well, I'll be 70 this month. And my father lived to be 93 and my mom lived to be 90. Linda's folks died in their 80s. And so my thought was we had a lot of success, a lot of accumulation as well. And my goal was not to leave her with that responsibility should I decease first. And, that's normally going to happen. Men usually pass before the women do. And I wasn't going to leave her with, 30 years of accumulation and not have her in a space that's safe and smaller and comfortable. Should I go first? I'm not voting to go. I'm not raising my hand. But, my choice was loving her as I do to make sure she'd be in a space where it was safe, comfortable, and easy to live in. Most of the things we need now on the first floor. We do have an upstairs for grandkids showing up and, kids coming back, that kind of thing. But most of what we'll need is a garage, a kitchen, a living room, a dining room, an office, and a place to sleep. And so going from 4,800 square feet to, down to 3,000 is a difficult transition. So we left a lot of things behind that we're going to sell on a estate sale. But more importantly, we're going to start this part of our life in a fresh space.
I love that. And I heard the word loud and clear, love.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it sounded like to me really drove your decision to make a downsizing decision. 70 years old is again, young to make that decision in my experience in my career right now. And so that is beautiful. And I hear in all aspects of your life that the process was also about love. And that really seems like the thread that is professionally, personally, that is flowing through. Am I hearing that correctly?
Well, my job as a human being is to help other people.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it be through books or whether it be through informational conversation, whether it be telling the truth, and hopefully my podcast in the fourth quarter for men, we've got transitions we got to make, and we can't put them off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't put off having a will done. You can't put off going to the doctor. You can't put off make sure your health is okay. You got to make sure those things are done, because the people that you leave behind need to have a frame of reference about what you are about, and more importantly, what they need to do as well. And so Larry and I talk a lot about, Tim taking a vacation. He's a workaholic. But
Yes, we'll cover that in episode 4. No. We'll be unpacking that for Mr. Robin.
but those kind of life conversations are part of what I try to do with men and other men. And it helped. We've had a friend of mine who had prostate cancer, and it was devastating to him. We had to pull him off the ledge, so to speak. And I just had a biopsy on my prostate. So, we don't know what our life term time is, but if you can be proactive about it as opposed to having it happen by accident, I think that's a better place to make sure that our loved ones are cared for, taken care of, understand, and know that, life is good, but you can enjoy it at all phases, but differently.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For me, what I experience professionally out in the world, that the reason we all don't do that is fear, is the terror of the unknown. And what I'm observing and hearing is that you are standing in that gap, not only for yourself and your family, but also encouraging others. It is on the other side of fear and this difficult season that we can get to the better part of life. And I would love to find out just a little bit more about that. What's it like now? You've done a lot of the hard work. You've admitted there's more to be done. But what is your life now like in the smaller space? You're not in a retirement community, am I correct? You're in a home.
We got a home.
Just square footage. It is a little bit smaller, a little bit more economical.
Right.
What does it feel like now for you and your wife?
We're still moving in.
Mm-hmm.
We had to buy new furniture. So the furniture's coming next week.
Ooh.
And so she'll be much happier.
Of course.
We had to finish the floors and that kind of stuff and make the house ready. And it'll be a couple-year transition as we get it ready. So I'm thinking that by the time we get through the end of the month, we'll be in a house that we can call her personality. Because it has to be mine, it has to be hers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I can live anywhere. I live in a cave and I'll be fine. But the new furniture will help. The new TV will help. All the pots and pans are in and all that kind of thing, and all the bedroom stuff set up. But I think making it a comfortable space, we put up some of our artwork. We put up some of the personal knickknacks that have, made the old house, they came with the new house.
Absolutely. What about, does it feel any different? And I mean literally physically to you, to after you have given books to Larry and given things to Goodwill, could you feel a lightening in your spirit, in your physicality? Were you breathing a little bit deeper? How did it feel for you? Did you notice anything at all?
Well, I think you notice that you have too much.
Mm-hmm.
And you notice that things that you have are not serving any purpose anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're memories and they're good, but they can benefit somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you have to lighten the closet up. Things that you think you're going to wear again, you're not going to wear.
Mm-hmm.
Things you think you're going to use again, or things you just accumulated that you can share with others. I think that made me feel better about the move, because a lot of things didn't go in the trash can. Okay. And, but a lot of it, you discover things. I did a speech for the sanitation workers for the University of Memphis in 2008, I think it was, whenever it was. But I lost the CDs.
Mm.
And in going through the stuff, there they were. Okay. So things that I treasured, things that I didn't, that were buried in the process of life, resurrected themselves, and things that I wanted to remember, things that I wanted to keep, put in a safe deposit box for safekeeping, those things showed up as well. Because as you go through life, as busy as we are, some things just fall through cracks.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Larry, on the receiving end of these very precious books and the wisdom that is stored within, physically, what did that feel like for you? Did you notice anything? Was there a heaviness? Was there a lightness? Was there anything in your spirit that you felt as that transaction was taking place?
Inside these books might be the keys to Glen's success in a way.
Mm-hmm.
When I think about, even though I'm an entrepreneur and he was, built his career in corporate America, there's a certain level of understanding profit and loss. There's certain things about, those life stories that help you to kind of navigate in a way that, ultimately is beneficial for everybody. Glen is truly a blessing for my generation and generations beyond mine. But I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt, there's a level of what would I call it? Perspective and understanding that as I age, I want to be able to give back to that next generation and generations beyond. So when you talk about that legacy that's created, the legacy of looking out for the next, the next set of folks, the next set of leaders, the next set of seekers of knowledge, that you have the awareness to actively give. And it's interesting that he gave away books, because I took that habit and I buy books, especially those that mean something to me. Like one in particular is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. That's a book that means a lot to me. So I ended up buying a lot of them because of him giving me the on purpose person. And I gave them to a lot of staff members and to my kids and to others, saying, this is a book that when I was having questions, answered a lot of them for me. And so kind of taking that mindset, that practice of sharing, those life, those God winks, those things that, help you to evolve and have a better quality of life. Taking that and hopefully short-circuiting or shortening the path of another person's journey so they can get to that high level quality of life much faster. So I took that, I believe, from Glen. And so that's what that means to me is, especially those autobiographies, because those autobiographies are some of the most amazing stories ever. Just one in particular is James Baldwin that I can't wait to read.
Yeah.
And, just being able to kind of look at what's kind of built his character, or what has kind of influenced him in some of his decision making and the way he approaches relationships, having those things that could have influenced that means a lot. And so not a heaviness or lightness, but an awareness, I can say, that I feel like I became a little bit more aware, even though I ain't read a book yet.
Doesn't matter.
Maybe through osmosis or something, I can sleep with one under my pillow.
You are feeling the keys. You're feeling the keys to the kingdom. I look forward to Kudzukian having this amazing library. The reading room is to come. I can feel it coming on.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's about planting seeds too.
Oh yeah.
There's a scripture that says, seed sower, and some seeds sowed on fertile ground, some didn't. And some grew up and turned into big trees. And my job is to try to fertilize and seed the world with things that I know that help people. And if they do the same thing, then my mission here for my season will be done well. And if I don't do it, then I've missed the opportunity to serve mankind and the people in my sphere of influence. So, I got books that went all over the world for my employees. They took them someplace else and they took them someplace else. And so, when you say, what's the impact of what you do, you don't know it until far down the road.
Mm.
Like you told me today about the books in my office. I don't remember that, but that was what I did. And so the purpose of it is to make sure others do it, to leave a legacy behind, to make sure your things go to some good purpose. Some artwork we can get about university. I want to have a Sessoms gallery, in a hall somewhere there at some point in time. And, just the things that we treasured, the things that we felt good about, the things that touched us, that they'll touch some other young people that are going through, they're trying to figure out who they're going to be after the 4 years or 5 years of college. Those things are important to me that we gift and give appropriately. And a lot of our things are going to some football players on a football team that are big like me that need clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Story I found out, I went to, gave them some shoes. And then I went to the practice and I found out most of them don't have shoes anymore. They all wear tennis. And I'm going, what's up with that? The young man here, tennis. And they wear tennis in dress clothes.
Sure.
And I'm going, okay, teaching someone to wear a brown pair of shoes or a black pair of shoes with a suit is going to be a new experience. And shining shoes, okay. I gave him a shining kit.
Yes.
Gave him a shoe shining kit. I mean, those things are things that I never thought about until I went going, wow, that's a new thing for them.
Absolutely.
Suits and jackets and shirts and ties, things they don't wear. It's not protocol anymore.
Absolutely. Glen Sessoms, the thing that I really hear as I listen to your heart is you are a man of faith. And not only are you a man of faith, but you're living your faith. And you have convinced me beyond a shadow of a doubt that of what I already knew, which is our things are more to us than just things. The things, the possessions that we surround our life with, the art, the books, the collection that we have, the reason that downsizing is as challenging as it is because there is a piece of our heart in it, piece of our soul, and what you are telling us is a piece of our legacy. I hear a man with a life well lived, and the tiny story that I heard about you before we met, about you just gifting some books and they were important books to you, told me everything I needed to know. I've heard it all today.
Well, I gave a bunch of books to church too.
Well, there you go.
So.
Well, thank you for your time, for your story. I can't wait to find out what the new furniture's like. I look forward to hearing how wonderful that is going to be for this new season of life. There is indeed, as you know, in this fourth quarter, there is a lot of life to be lived. And I really do think that people put it in neutral and they think they're coasting their way out. And I love the fact that you are embracing and continuing to give back in this season of your life. So I thank you so much for your time. Larry, thank you for your time, for your ministry as far as giving back to not only young people, but also a middle-aged woman, as you do, a middle-aged woman that might seem like she's got it all together and does not. I am looking forward to many more conversations, and I can't wait to hear about this new podcast. I want to thank all our listeners today for attending and being a part of and listening to the richness of the Annestasis podcast, where we really do unpack lives that are resurrected through transitions and relocations. Thank you for being a part of this today, and we look forward to hearing the next time that we're together. Thank you.
You're welcome.